Hello and welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Media. I am your host, Emily, and today we are going to be talking about Bring Her Back. This is a new supernatural horror film by the directors of Talk to Me, Danny and Michael Philipou, that centers on two foster children after the death of their father being adopted into the home of an occultist who was attempting to perform a satanic ritual. I saw this movie at an early screening, so I actually saw it a while back, but I haven't been able to review it until now. And this movie is worth talking about. When I review movies on this channel, I try to only ask if I can review movies that I really want to spotlight, either for their incredible goodness or incredible badness. And I'm very happy to say that this is the kind of movie that I want to talk about because of just how fucking good it is. Bring Her Back is great. It is exactly the kind of kick in the teeth that I really wanted horror cinema to get this year, and not necessarily because of Bring Her Back, but it's just been a good year for horror movies, and it's going to continue to be. It is an emotionally raw and deeply disturbing film that really goes to some places that I didn't expect it to, and is admirably and fantastically restrained at the times that it needs to be, so as not to completely overwhelm the viewer, or more to the point, desensitize the viewer. Part of what makes Bring Her Back work, and the reason that it's so scary, is that the film doesn't linger long on its most disturbing moments and doesn't prepare you for them or foreshadow them at all. It feels like the movie wants you to be on edge all the time because something fucked up and disturbing could happen at any point, but because disturbing and fucked up things happen only sometimes, it makes it so that they still feel significant and momentous when they do occur. To that end, this is a movie that's not for everyone, and before I progress further in the review, I do want to throw out a couple of content warnings for this review. I won't be discussing any of the violence in depth, but this film does contain extremely graphic violence, and also contains pretty heavy themes of child abuse, as well as PTSD. So if those are topics that you struggle with, this is not the review for you, and this is not the movie for you. Please do take that heavily under advisement. I just wanted to throw that out there before we hop into what works. Part of what makes this movie so good is that I think that the central two characters are just very likable, and they're very immediately easy to latch onto. The main characters consist of a teenage boy and a sort of middle school aged girl who is mostly blind. She's not entirely blind; she can see a little bit of light, but she is functionally non-sighted. And after their collective father perishes at the very opening of the movie, they're put into foster care, and they meet Sally Hawkins' character, who is in fact an occultist. And the movie surprisingly does not play its cards super close to the chest on that particular front. It's kind of immediately clear that something is up with her, but there is more to it than that I don't want to give away, because I think the movie does a really excellent job of parceling out the information and really making it feel like we're constantly learning things about all of these characters throughout the film. Nothing in Bring Her Back ever feels static. It feels like there are always dimensions and emotions and bits of knowledge that we don't fully have as viewers that are informing what the characters are doing. And as we peel back those layers and really get at everything, it feels so much more compelling and alive, because as we learn more about these people, their actions start to make more sense. We start feeling more emotionally connected to them because we know that all of them have stuff going on. And as we learn these things about them, the movie contextualizes itself more and more. And by the time of the finale, everything is heartbreaking and bittersweet, because for a horror movie, every single character has had their stuff thoroughly explained enough that we can feel with every angle of what's going on. And it's brilliant. It's fantastically executed and is very smart about using emotions and narrative and backstory to tell us things about characters who we know are not good people, but still make us feel a level of sympathy for them without excusing anything they're doing. It's a touch of masterful writing that we can understand why a person might be horrible or might be driven to do something horrible, while simultaneously understanding that what they're doing is so completely evil that nothing could ever justify it. It's a thin tightrope to walk, and I think that this movie walks it exceptionally well, without ever going too far in any one direction and keeping a consistent and disturbing tone that never feels like it lets up. Bring Her Back is the sort of movie that I think Hollywood should be focused on making more and more often, because it's the kind of electric, tense movie that horror movies can be. And I really appreciate how much this movie does without being ashamed or sacrificing its identity as a horror movie to be dramatic, and talk about these characters and the things that they go through as if they are humans and add that level of humanity to the story. This isn't necessarily a Jason sort of film where it's mostly about watching people die. There's a lot more going on to it. But if you get into what's going on and you're willing to engage with it and let yourself think about it and feel about it, this movie's going to work for you. This is normally where I would go into spoiler territory. But frankly, for this movie, there's nothing that I can really say about the spoilers that I haven't already said in vague terms from now. I think that the information that we learn about the characters is completely fantastic. I think that the way that things are contextualized and the way that the conclusion is set up is utterly brilliant. And when this movie does go for shock value, it shocks harder and more violently than any other horror movie that I can think of in the past maybe 4 or 5 years. When this movie chooses to get violent or gross, it goes so hard and so far that even I, who I would say have a pretty heavy tolerance for horror movies, felt grossed out and had to look away. Which is an impressive feat, given that I'm not typically a person who gets scared very easily. I'm not typically a person who gets grossed out very easily. And yet, this movie did it, and did it with gusto. But the fact that it can combine that with the emotional story beats that it's trying to tell is fantastic. And it doesn't feel like either are being sacrificed in that process. Which really and truly gets Bring Her Back to being my favorite film of this year. It's a perfect representation of a genre that I could not have more love in my heart for. Something that I've loved since I was a teenager. And seeing things like this that take everything that's great about horror movies and condense it into one sort of crystallized piece of art that does everything that it possibly can with the tools that it has is just utterly fantastic and brilliant. I cannot recommend enough that you go out and watch Bring Her Back in your home, in a theater, wherever you can happen to find it. If you feel like you have the stomach for this kind of movie, you will not be disappointed in the slightest at what you are going to be getting into with this one. The directors of this film made a comment prior to its release that the intention behind it was to make a horror movie that was designed for individual viewing. When they were working on Talk to Me, they wanted to make a movie that felt like a quote-unquote party horror movie, like being somewhere with your friends and doing something and it devolving into chaos. And that this movie, by contrast, was designed to be watched alone. Not at a party, but a movie that was designed to make you feel isolated and more scared. It's a different kind of horror movie, but I have to commend Danny and Michael Philipou for not trying to stick in a particular niche and trying to diversify and trying something new. And for what it's worth, I think that it really works with Bring Her Back, and I'm really looking forward to whatever they do next. The last thing that I can say about Bring Her Back is that it's absolutely worth your time in any form factor that you can watch it as soon as you can watch it. If you are the kind of person who can stomach horror movies, who likes horror movies, and who wants something that's going to be both scary, challenging, exciting, and bittersweet, there is no movie that's going to hit like Bring Her Back this year. Thank you very much for watching this video. I've been your host, Emily. Thank you so much for your patronage to $1 Million Media. Watching our videos allows us to continue doing this, and we really love it, and we hope that you guys love it too. Please subscribe to our channel for more content like this. We have a lot of cool stuff in the works, so definitely stay tuned for that. If you happen to be interested in supporting us financially, we have a Patreon that you can always go and subscribe to. And you can follow me if you're interested in me specifically. I have started doing a little bit of Twitch streaming. So you can follow me and a couple of my friends as we Twitch stream over on twitch.tv/MalvadarTV, which will also be linked in the description. Thank you very much. Have a good one.